What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you, and this is actually part two of our two-part series where we look at the zero running back and zero wide receiver strategy approaches for the 2020 fantasy football season. And today in particular, we will be focusing on the zero running back strategy. And similar to last time, for the sake of keeping everything as consistent as possible, we will be using Fantasy Pros. It will be a 12-team league, full point PPR settings. And just like last time, we'll do 3 different mocks at 3 different draft positions to see which draft position yields the best roster for this type of strategy. And roster-wise, nothing too crazy. 1 quarterback, 2 RBs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 4 bench spots. No defenses, no kickers. We want to focus in on those skill positional players. And before we get into it, a quick reminder for everyone interested, go ahead, check out a copy of the 2020 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. It's got everything you could possibly want at a great price, from top 150 overall player rankings to individual player bios, tiers, projections, and general fantasy advice. And also go ahead, check out our all new and updated website at alldaypigskin.com for some exclusive content. Either way, all the details are in the description, but let's get into this draft. And as you can see here, we are on the clock. The first 3 picks have been made. And normally you would go running back here, but since we're going the zero running back approach, that means for the first 4 rounds, we are going wide receiver. Again, I would not do this. I would not recommend this. But some people get curious when it comes to these types of strategies and what happens if you do go wide receiver heavy for the first couple of rounds and then how you can rebound afterwards. So that's exactly what we're going to do today to see our best type of roster and how we can make sure that we don't have a huge drop off afterwards, if at all possible. But here, look, it's pretty simple. You go for the number 1 wide receiver on your board. And whether standard or PPR formats, that is Michael Thomas across the board for us. So we're going Michael Thomas here, not too much to think about. And the question is, what will we do next? What will we do at the second round? Now, technically, we could go another pass catcher. It doesn't have to be wide receiver. It could very well be Travis Kelce. And honestly, I might do that because we're combining still the zero running back approach, but also take into account a good value pick, because let's see what we have at the wide receiver position. We've got Allen Robinson, we've got Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith, Mike Evans. Out of those guys, I like Golladay and Mike Evans the most. And let's quickly look at the cheat sheet to make sure that we're not forgetting about anyone else. But I think we can go ahead and take Travis Kelce in this case. We're still staying true to the zero running back approach. Like I said, we're not going strictly wide receiver, but you know, Kelce is a pass catcher. He's basically a wide receiver, 1,000+ yards, about 100 receptions. So that's what I'm going to do here. Maybe quote unquote cheating a little bit, but I don't think so. We're still going ahead and getting that best player available at a pass catching position. And you know, obviously, as much as we'd like to target some of these running backs, some of these guys that have good value, like a Chris Carson, James Conner, etc., we're going back to the wide receivers. And I mentioned to you guys, I like Kenny Golladay. At this point in time, we've already gotten Travis Kelce and Michael Thomas, so let's add Kenny Golladay here. And I don't mind doing that. I believe Kenny Golladay has top 10 upside at the wide receiver position with a healthy Matt Stafford for the entirety of the season. You know, I do think his upside, his ceiling is pretty nice. So let's go ahead and go now to our draft board and see what we're going to go ahead and do after this point. And as you can see, we're going to get into the 4th round. Now, unfortunately, I see a lot of running back names going off the board here. Again, let's check in on that right now. The best at this point in time, Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, David Montgomery. So what we have to do here at this point in time is we're going to make one more wide receiver selection, and then afterwards kind of just pray and hope that our group of running backs can be salvaged. Here right now, Calvin Ridley is my next best available wide receiver. I love him on the Atlanta offense, so we're going with Ridley here. And as you can see, a lot of those running backs that we mentioned have been taken off the board. So at this point in time, we're looking at Melvin Gordon, we're looking at Jonathan Taylor, but I have Dave Montgomery ranked highest on my list, so I will go ahead and add him here. And at this point in time, we're going to fall into that category of where we hit the running back position hard to try and get, whatever value we can. And right now, I see Kareem Hunt here. I realize that he's not the starting running back, but he still provides a nice floor. This is a full point PPR format. So we're going to go ahead and draft Kareem Hunt. Look, I'd much rather have Hunt as a flex running back, but at this point in time, we're going to take what we can get and continue to hit the running back position. Next, we've got guys like DeAndre Swift, James White, Cam Akers. So we can go ahead and probably go with someone like James White here. I do like a Ronald Jones potentially. I also like a Marlon Mack a little bit later on, but we go James White here. I realize that the Patriots went ahead and added, Lamar Miller a couple days ago, but that shouldn't affect James White's status. It's more so a issue for Sony Michel. So for that reason, let's go ahead and add James White at this point in time. And yeah, let's go ahead and draft him. So we have got him added to the bench. And at this point, we are going to continue to add high upside running backs. And it's really going to come down to, I'm looking at probably Ronald Jones, honestly, that we mentioned. Let's see how much further Marlon Mack is down these rankings, because I'm actually a fan of his, and I might go with Marlon Mack straight out over Ronald Jones. And yeah, that's actually what I'm going to do here. I think the upside for Marlon Mack is there. It's not a given that Jonathan Taylor will be the guy, so I'm happy to go with Marlon Mack here. I think that he is someone that is undervalued. So we've got Marlon Mack. Let's go ahead and add a decent quarterback at this point in time. Get that stack with Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. So we got that taken care of. Got good value on quarterback, I would say. Pretty much with our third to last pick. So now we can go ahead and turn our attention to running back yet again. We could potentially try and see if there's a value wide receiver. I'm looking at the running backs here, and man, I don't like the names that are left. I would say the person potentially with the highest upside would be a, Chase Edmonds is more so a handcuff. Maybe a Jamal Williams if something happens to Aaron Jones. And we saw him get some playing time last year. As far as our running backs, we do have 4 running backs, but you can't really call any of them RB1s. So let's get a value pick here at wide receiver real fast in Jamison Crowder. And then I'm going to go ahead and conclude it with one last pick at running back. And we'll see who that'll be depending on who is still left on the board. And then we can go ahead and see our draft grade very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and add Jamal Williams. And we will call this a wrap. So with that, we can go ahead and see our final roster. We can see our final roster grade. And we got an A. And I'm 1000% shocked by that. If you guys remember, in our 0 wide receiver strategies, we averaged a C, and a low C at that. And now this is a pretty high A, 94 out of 100. And let me just say, I don't agree with it. I realize our wide receivers are very good. We've got Michael Thomas, we've got Kenny Golladay, Travis Kelce, Calvin Ridley. We got good value on Thomas, we got good value on Kelce. If we had to take wide receiver in the second round, if we didn't allow ourselves the flexibility to take tight end, this wouldn't be nearly as high of a grade. We got decent value on Kenny Golladay in the third round, but at that point in time, much better off going a running back. Same with when we took Calvin Ridley. And then we loaded up on some high upside guys with Montgomery, with Hunt. But the running back position is thin. James White and Marlon Mack are, they're speculative pickups. I don't feel all that good about them to potentially be starters. We got good value on Drew Brees, I will say that. But as far as what I would actually give this roster grade-wise, sure, pass catchers are an A, but running backs, I probably got to give them a C. And that's the more important position. So to me, that brings this grade probably actually down to a C+, something around there. But let's go ahead and continue this on with our next mock draft, where we have that 7th overall pick here. And we're going wide receiver here. So Michael Thomas is off the board at this point in time. So we can't get, quote unquote, the best wide receiver on available. But we can still go our highest ranked wide receiver, and that is Julio Jones. So let's go ahead and add him to our roster. Devontae Adams wasn't available. I'm happy with Julio Jones there. I think there probably might have been an outside chance that he maybe falls to us, afterwards in the second round, probably being extremely hopeful in that. But nonetheless, I would have gone running back in that first round. Just looking at the draft board and guys that went after us, Dalvin Cook, that would have been my slam dunk choice of a selection, because he is a tier 1 running back when he's healthy. I've said that over and over, and I firmly believe it. Let's go ahead and select another wide receiver here. And I'm going to go ahead and select Mike Evans. I've got him ranked higher than Kenny Golladay, and I know he won't be available for us in that next round. I know we could go tight end, but let's go ahead and, switch things up a little bit, see how that plays out, get Mike Evans on the roster. And then maybe we get lucky with a tight end that drops to us. I was going to say maybe a Kittle, but obviously he goes. So now we're truly going to get a wide receiver heavy draft here. And in the third round, we've got our choice between some guys, Thielen, Cooper. I know OBJ and Juju are ranked higher, but I really like Thielen. With Diggs gone, he is that guy. Other than last year, the 2 years prior, he had over 100 receptions. Very high on him in general. So I like that pickup. Now, let's go ahead and switch over to what our roster looks like. Julio, Evans, Adam Thielen. And I will say the reason why we got such a high draft grade last time was because our 4th pick technically was a starter. Whereas here, unless we reach on a tight end, it's going to be another wide receiver. And per these league settings, well, it's going to be a pick where it's going to be a bench spot. So that basically tells you the grade won't be as high, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and get a good value pick at this point in time. I'm going with DJ Shark. I think he's going to have good value as the primary wide receiver on the Jaguars. So let's go ahead and get him. He could very well be a starter on your roster, but the way this works out, he goes on the bench. And now we have to scramble to start getting more running backs. And I have a feeling this is going to end up pretty similar to what we had last time as far as running backs. And that's what you have to do. You have to go best available running backs at this point in time. And here, maybe for the sake of being a little bit different, I'll take a chance on someone like a Raheem Mostert. The 49ers are a run-first team. Maybe he has a leg up on the competition. So I'll take a Mostert over a Kareem Hunt. And we'll see if Kareem Hunt drops to us if we get lucky, and maybe that could help our overall draft grade. And wouldn't you know it, Kareem Hunt does drop to us, so that will be our no-brainer selection there. I like our running back depth here more so than in the previous draft, but I do like the value that we got in the first 2, 3, 4 rounds there more so. So we've hit the running back position, and now the question becomes, do we go a tight end? Do we go with a quarterback? And I'm looking at the list of tight ends, guys that I like an Evan Ingram or, a Darren Waller are not available. So I'm going to switch my attention to quarterback, and I see a Tom Brady. I'm going to go ahead and pair him up with Mike Evans, get that stack, go for that upside. He's my next best available quarterback, so I'm adding him here. I think there might be a little bit of a run on quarterbacks. We'll see. It's not for sure, but I guess you saw Matthew Stafford go. We've still got Rodgers, Jones, Roethlisberger. So here I'm going to go ahead and add another running back. This will be Marlon Mack. So a lot of similar names. You see Montgomery, you see Hunt, you see Mack. And that's probably going to be in the range of running backs that you guys are also landing if you go with an approach like this. But again, I always try and preach, try to avoid going into a draft with a predetermined strategy, especially in snake drafts. In auction drafts, that's not necessarily the case. So we're talking specifically snake drafts here. Now, let's go ahead and address our tight end position. I'm going to go ahead and just take the next best available tight end, Jared Cook, on that offense with the New Orleans Saints. I don't think he will have as good of a year as last year, but there will be a lot of scoring opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and bank on that. And then with our final pick, we will go best player available here. And let's see who that might be. I might go ahead and just add another tight end and someone that I really like. For example, a Jack Doyle. And honestly, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Don't feel all that confident in that Jared Cook selection. So let's go ahead and add Jack Doyle. So we land 4 running backs. Let's see our draft grade here, C-. So yeah, that's exactly what I mean here, folks. Our first 4 picks, they were not all a part of our starting roster, so we were docked a big amount here per the Fantasy Pros grading system, and I understand it. I prefer the team that we had overall in our first mock, where we had that 4th overall pick, because we did get Michael Thomas, we did get a Travis Kelce, and then still got a Galladay, for example, and then got a Ridley, another high-end upside player. So basically the takeaway probably is, if you go 0 running back strategy in that second round, you're best off taking one of the premier tight ends, for example. So 71 out of 100, C-. I would probably agree with that overall grade. I might say it's a little bit higher because I'm high on the running backs that we got in terms of upside. So I might give this, a C, potentially a C+. But let's go ahead and do our final mock draft here. And again, we are going wide receiver first. We've got the 11th overall pick. And similar to last time, I'm going next best available wide receiver, plain and simple. That is still Julio Jones. I think similar to last time here, obviously getting better value on him, so it's a little bit better. But here, unfortunately, both Tyreek Hill and then DeAndre Hopkins were taken off the board. So we have to either go tight end or go wide receiver here. And wide receiver wise, we've got Chris Godwin, we have got Travis Kelce, and again, I'm just going to, for the purpose of making this a little bit harder of an exercise for us, go with Chris Godwin here and then see how we rebound afterwards. But again, if I'm in your guys' place and you decide to do a strategy like this, I would be going tight end. I'd be looking at that type of position there. So let's see who's available at tight end. I obviously know Kittle and Kelce will be gone. You've got the Wallers, you've got the Ingrams. We'll see. I'm going to go wide receivers here again and see if one of those guys drops to us afterwards, because I'm not going to take one of those tight ends in the first 4 rounds. Forget about that. So here I will add Cooper. I think he's a good value pick, definitely. And then let's see what we can go ahead and do in the 4th round. Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley. So who do you have ranked higher? I like Kupp. I like Ridley. I'm going upside at this point in time, and I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp just because I got I have Julio Jones already, so I don't want this stack to get too ridiculous with 2 wide receivers on the same team. Get some diversity here. So let's add Cooper Kupp. And now we can again shift our attention to the running back position, and I'm hoping that we have some decent value picks. We will see if that is the case. Oh, so okay, great. We have got a David Johnson available to us this time. So a little bit different. That hasn't been the case so far in any of our drafts. So I'm going to go ahead and immediately pick him up. I like that pickup. And then we still have David Montgomery available. So I'm going to go ahead and add him too. And honestly, right now, as far as balance, I like this roster the most. I know we got, again, we're probably going to have the highest draft grade on that first mock because we selected Travis Kelce in the 2nd round. And here there's going to be a drop-off in tight end talent. But as far as the running backs that we got a David Johnson to fall to us. If he stays healthy and is similar to what we've seen in years past and gets that usage as a pass catcher, this being a PPR format, I really like the upside for a David Johnson. Let's see who we have at tight end. Yeah, both Ingram, both Waller are gone, so we're going to wait on tight end again. We're going to continue to hit the running back position. I'm going to get Raheem Mostert here. So again, we have now got 3 running backs, Johnson, Montgomery, and Mostert. And here, if we really wanted to go for upside, we can go ahead and try for a Ronald Jones. But how comfortable do you feel with the running back play in Tampa Bay? I think it will be a pass first type of offense. So I'm just going to go ahead and again get Tom Brady, get that stack with him and Chris Godwin. So we've got that taken care of. Again, you're going to see some similar players here go because we're trying to get value round per round after we go ahead and execute that strategy of 0 running backs in the first 4 rounds. Now let's shift our attention to tight end again. I'll go potentially with someone like a Mike Gesicki here. Let's see what we have got still available to us at the running back position and go to our cheat sheet to see if some of those players that we've targeted before are still there. Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack is no longer there, unfortunately. So an Adrian Peterson is there. He's an interesting target now, obviously, with the whole Darius Guy situation. Not as much value in a PPR format, but I'll probably still take a chance on him. Let's go ahead and get a Mike Gesicki first because I feel like that he might go off the board initially, unless I guess we can go ahead and quickly see who this player has in terms of tight end. So they already have a tight end in Gesicki, that 12th overall team. So it'd actually probably be all right for us to go Adrian Peterson here. And if that person goes Mike Gesicki, then oh well. You know, we took a chance, we gambled, and it didn't pay off. But no, Mike Gesicki is still there. So let's go ahead and add him to our team. And we will then afterwards have one final pick to make and get our draft grade. And let's see what will be available to us with this final selection. We can go ahead and pretty much, again, get just best player available. Tight end, you know, I'm all right just having Mike Gesicki. Running back, similar situation to last time. We could go another quarterback, but let's just go another skill position player here. I will go with Golden Tate. He's a decent PPR option if something happens to a Sterling Shepard. I like the value for a Golden Tate, so let's go ahead and add him. And we get our grade here, a 79 out of 100, a C+. So first and foremost, I will say I do like this roster more than our second one, where we had that 7th overall pick. We've got some similarities. Tom Brady at quarterback, Montgomery again, Julio Jones again. But what I will say is our David Johnson selection really puts this team above that second one in my eyes. We still got Raheem Mostert. We got Adrian Peterson. Cooper Kupp is on our bench. Good value pick there. But again, this is the problem. So essentially, as soon as your fourth pick in the fourth, in the 4th round, you're adding a bench player, and that just doesn't make sense value-wise. So that's why here, theoretically, if you go the takeaway message with the 0 running back approach, you should be looking at guys like quarterbacks or tight ends. As much as it hurts me to say that, to go ahead and get value in those rounds, position by position, to maximize your scoring. Unless you have, for example, a 2-flex league, then it becomes a different story. But overall, which roster do I prefer? So let's go ahead and really quickly compare again. This was our first roster with Breeze, Montgomery, Hunt, Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay, Kelsey, Ridley, White, Mack, Crowder, and Jamal Williams. So again, here you can see that there wasn't a high caliber guy on our bench. That's why we got that high draft score. And I agree, I would probably go ahead and give this team the highest draft grade, probably. However, it would be at a C+, definitely not an A. Then this was our second team, C-. Tom Brady, Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Julio, Evans, Jared Cook, Thielen. So we reached on someone like a Mike Evans. I also want to point that out. DJ Shark is on our bench. So yeah, I definitely agree. This is a C-, maybe honestly even a little bit worse, if I had to be honest. And then finally, this last team, Brady, David Johnson, David Montgomery, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Gesicki, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, and yeah, I think this is probably a C overall type of roster. So I would rank them top overall roster with that 4th overall pick, then here with the 11th, and then finally that 7th overall pick. But let me know what you guys think. Did you agree, disagree? along with any other questions you guys might have in the comment section. Let me hear them. And another quick reminder for everyone interested, go ahead, check out our 2020 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you could possibly want at a great value. It talks strategies. It talks about, the way you can optimize your drafting experience. One of those ways is probably not to go either the zero running back or the zero wide receiver approach. Doesn't make all that much sense, but again, for the sake of the exercise, we wanted to show you what that means. Then also check us out online at alldaypigskin.com for some exclusive content, articles, etc. All the details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.